before I introduce the speaker, I want to just make sure, well, first of all, thank you, Victor, for this. Thank you also to the team of Signaturit for making this happen. I will introduce the speaker, but there's some kind of forward here. We don't pay our speakers, right? Even though their time is really, really precious, it's really, really expensive to have CEOs, founders, managing directors, investors, VCs, whatever. They pay us with our time. So what we're going to do here tonight is we're going to stand up at the count of 3 when you have the music. Can we have the music, please? Because we welcome them like authentic rock stars. The count of 3, you will stand up and give Juan the biggest rock star applause ever. 1, 2, 3. Everybody in outfit. Yeah. You didn't expect this, right?
Yeah, I would say that this is the best song today with my hand.
Yeah, you're gonna play Rocky in your next movie now.
No, exactly.
You might want to tell them what happened here.
Well, someone was trying to force me to sign in paper, and I decided to.
It was a hard negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. So no, just kidding. I had a small incident with my mountain bike, so yeah.
We've had injured people here. Yeah, we've had people injured here. We've had pregnant women. So it's like, it's an event that full of surprises. Anyhow, I wanted to introduce him because I think we've got very parallel careers. He started off as a computer scientist, but eventually somehow you gain social skills, which is something most computer scientists don't have. Most developers don't have that thing. You moved to the corporate industry and you started working for Accenture, Indra, and then Castinfo for the banking industry, right?
Yeah.
That's probably where you gain these social skills, you learn and sow some opportunities. And then some years ago, he decided to found Signaturit, which is a digital signature company. So please give it up another applause for Juan, but also because it's a special effort for him to come here with a hand. The main topic of the talk tonight is going to be culture of product, B2B sales in crowded market. Fuck that, let's talk about something else. You said you wanted to talk about overhiring. Don't worry, we're going to go into that later. But I'm passionate about overhiring. I just learned this word today. You want to explain this to our audience?
Yeah, well, this is something that we are facing, especially when you close a big funding round. You have a lot of pressure from the market, from the investor, from all the stakeholders from the company. And you think that the solution is to hire a lot of people before having all the processes in place. Then you realize that the problem is that you have to manage all the people that you have and at the same time trying to change the processes. And this is very complicated. Because it's not the same to manage 5 people than 50 people and try to align all of them. And what we have seen, for example, is that, okay, you can agree something one day, then you go back to say, okay, how it's going, and people is not 100% aligned with what you have been discussing, and this is a misunderstanding in terms of communication. Sometimes that process is not clear. How can we track and measure everything that we are doing? So, yeah.
Was it part of the round? Was one of the KPIs of the round one of the conditions to have a certain amount of headcount, or that's
not really
completely yours?
Not really, completely our.
Okay, how are you gonna? How do you think you're going to manage this? Because obviously, you've got a lot of processes, and one of the things we've learned about startups here is that they tend to hire a lot when they receive funding, because they need a lot of people right away. But in some months' time, they don't need them anymore. And you either repurpose them or you lay them off, right? You don't want to do the second, right? How are you going to manage this?
Well, what we have done right now is to freeze all the hiring plan that we have.
Yeah.
So we are not going to incorporate more people in the short term, mid-term, well, maybe some key positions that we have to cover. And what we are trying to do is create some small squads that we can manage and we can do some very specific tasks to be sure that we are 100% aligned and everybody's doing what we have to do, no? And especially that we can take conclusion of the actions that we are going to implement. Because sometimes the problem, when you don't have these processes, you cannot track and measure how it's going, no? The changes that you are implementing. So yeah, the idea is that, okay, try to reduce the problem, no? To do in a very small pieces and try to approach all of them step by step.
Perfect. How about we give our audience tonight some bit of understanding of how you started, how you came up with the idea, and what's happened until now? That was a little bit the journey.
So we started in 2013. As you said, I was working I will say that I started Signaturit for 2 main reasons. The first one from my experience. working for the financial services for more than 8 years. So you can imagine all the paperwork that we used to manage. So a lot of contracts, a lot of NDAs. I was the connection between the bank and external consultancies. So I have to deal with this problem in my daily basis. And on the other hand, it was more a personal experience. I was watching the TV with my girlfriend, watching the news, and I saw that you can sign a petition that can, to support a social change.
Yeah, like change.org, right?
Change.org, but with legal validity, let's say, no?
Right,
That
yeah.
it's official, that you have to present all the documents to the government, so you have to sign it in person. But the problem was that I have to go to Madrid to sign this petition. So then I realized, I said, okay, man, we have to do something here. And I told my girlfriend, we are going to change that. So we started to think, how can we solve this problem? And we were evaluating the market, and we saw two kinds of solutions. US-based companies with a really good user experience, but with a lack of security or legality in the European Union. And on the other hand, more European companies that they had, let's say, not the best user experience, but with a really high level of security and legality. So we saw there a really big opportunity, no? Trying to bring into the market or find this balance between a really good user experience, but at the same time, with a higher level of security in the European Union.
And what made you think you were the right person to do this? Because obviously we all have ideas, right? It's like, yeah, I could build the next, I don't know, a Facebook or whatever. We all have great ideas. But why this one? Why did you decide to go for this one? What drove you?
I will say that the experience that I had,
right?
100%, no, because I felt this pain in personal and professional.
Yeah.
And I said, we have to do something here. It's very simple, especially when they started to offer all the mobile devices, all the new technologies, all this kind of stuff. So from a big problem that I had, and I was trying to solve it.
Let's start with the sales. I think we're going to start with one of the two topics of the conversation. It's going to be sales, right? Because Spain fundamentally is a country for B2C, right? There's a lot of e-commerce, there's a lot of B2C companies. We don't have a lot of tradition in B2B, and
really.
much less B2B sales, right? B2B sales require a lot of trust, right? It's not, spending money on Facebook or on Google and then they start rolling, right? The sales start rolling. You got to go to companies, enterprise sometimes, SMBs and things like that, but they require trust. How do you build trust? How do you convince somebody to use your platform for their contracts?
Exactly, especially for contracts.
Exactly.
So B2B sales is difficult, and then put that the legal validity, and especially when we started, we were 3-4 young people trying to sell, trying to go companies say, okay, you are doing a really bad stuff. You have to change your processes because this is legal. All the advantages of the solution, no? Yeah, it was super difficult at the very beginning. We spent like 2 years trying to build this trust, trying to incorporate to the company other investors that can help us to bring this image to the market. One of our investors is Bank Sabadell. It was a very strategic investment for us. We were dealing with a lot of law firms, trying to create some specific reports saying that our technology is 100% legal. We were trying to fake a little bit how big we were.
Let's go into that, yeah.
No, but at the end, you have, as you said, you have to project the image that you are a really big company, that it's 100% everything under control, working really close with the customer, trying to show them that you are there to help them. No, they must feel that if they have any problem, they are going to be able to talk with the CEO of the company. And this is key at the very beginning.
There's not a lot of other people in the company at the beginning. There's the CEO and 3 or 4 more people.
Well, yes, let's say that. As you are growing, at the very beginning, you must go there, you must sell, you must, talk with the customers.
How did you convince your first customer? Do you remember that experience and how was it? Can you explain a little bit?
I will say that our first customer was a photographer.
All right.
Yeah. I think that he paid by mistake.
All right.
To be very honest.
Okay.
And it was not recurring revenue. It was one shot. We had some mistakes in the platform, and I said, "Okay, man, we were all waiting for the next payment." And okay, what's happening? No, yeah, but this was a very small customer, and then I would say that the biggest one that we closed was Prisa, and it was through a partner.
Wow.
That it was key for us as well to bring trust to the market. Working with some partners that they already have the connection with the customer, they have the trust of the customer. I think it's a very good entry point, no? And we have used this logo for a long, long, long time.
Well, they actually say that when you do B2B sales, it's always important to have like one big logo, right? A logo of this company. Hey, I work for FC Barcelona. Maybe you're a designer and you design like a fucking icon or something, right? But I work for Barca. Whatever.
Exactly.
So after having Prisa, then did you see that other customers started like pouring in, or it didn't help at all?
No,
it did.
Yeah, absolutely. It was key. I will say that the first slide of our presentation was the logo of Prisa, more or less.
And then, all right.
Maybe
you need help here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't laugh. Great. There you go.
Thank you.
Because there's this one thing. So in B2B, when you start, obviously that requires trust. A lot of contracts and clients will come through recommendation. You earn a reputation. But it's kind of like, it's a wheel. At the beginning, you have no clients, no recommendations, no reputation. And you either like fake it till you make it. Some people do that. And others is through partners, right? How do you advise people to get partners in the very beginning of a B2B company? Like what kind of partners? Like really big partners or reselling partners?
I would say that the most important is that you can find some partners that are quite similar to your size. Well, not two or three people, but very small partners. Because if you go to very big partners, for them, you are like nothing.
Yeah.
The revenues that you are going to generate are zero for their P&L, let's say, no? So they're not going to put some effort to help you to close these opportunities. But if you go to a company that maybe you can help them to generate some revenues that, I don't know, more or less at the same size, I think it's key. If not, it's not going to work. We have lost a lot of time trying to close some deals with our partnerships. 3 months of negotiation and at the end of the day, it was an absolutely waste of time. But with this kind of partner, I remember the first one that
Can you name them or give an example of
TBS,
who they are?
Yes, it was like a software integrator. They were doing like some integration SAP.
Yeah.
And they have their own solution, very niche solution that was managing SEPA mandates. And yeah, they were like 10 people in the team, but with really good big customers.
Yeah.
So for them, our solution was a key piece in their process.
Okay.
Because they were managing all the process digital, but when they have to sign it, they came back to the paper. No? So we did this integration, and it was key. And we have closed several deals with them. Because for them, this amount, the margin that we can get was interesting.
You said something that's really interesting, and I can tell you're passionate about sales. Because a lot of people, when they mention partnerships are like, you're going to see no money out of this, right? It's some collaboration, synergies. They're very toxic words, right? But I read someday, one of these days, I read that if a partnership is not going to affect your P&L, like it's not worth doing it, right? How do you structure your partnerships in this regard? Is it like reselling? Is it affiliates? Is it what is it like?
We have different programs, let's say, but most of them is that they are getting it's a revenue share.
Revenue share,
yeah, exactly. So they get some percentage of the commission of the service that they are selling, and then we have other partners that are more software integrators. And then for them, the most important is that they can sell their services to the end user. So this is another entry point and another option to generate more revenues. Yeah, but I would say that in general it's more revenue share and this kind of software integrators or other ERPs, CRMs that we can integrate our technology.
Okay, and how about, you mentioned also the part of the team, right? You probably said you were bigger than you were, or you had a more like corporate website. Can you share a little bit about that? Some tips on how to appear less startup-y? Because in 2013, to say you were a startup and you wanted to do B2B, that was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, try to copy what is working in other companies. I try to look for other companies, how they are doing their marketing, how they are building their web page, how they are approaching their customers, the cadence of the emails that they are sending to the users, all this kind of stuff. I think that there are a lot of information in the internet. Here in Europe, it's quite, well, especially in Spain, it's quite new as B2B, but if you go to the States, you see a lot of information, people that have been doing this for more than 15, 20 years, and I think that this is the best way, trying to copy what other companies is doing in terms of the image, big corporates, and try to replicate, trying to explain use cases, trying to get some quotes. This is very difficult.
Video testimonials.
Video testimonials.
Yeah.
This is the most important. People want to know, okay, how can I use this, and how other people that are like me is using your technology, and which are the advantages.
Because I remember when we interviewed here, we hosted Cantalks, right? You will know Cantalks. And in 2014, corporates were not playing with startups. And they were hesitant to come here. The CEO was hesitant to come to Start Brand because he didn't want to get associated to the startup brand, right? They were trying to sell to banks, to big corporates and institutions. So like, it's not good if we appear, just don't tweet it too much, right? Because we don't want to be associated to the startup industry. And right now it's the other way around. Now there's corporate venturing, then you've got VCs or acceleration programs coming for the corporates, then a lot of the integrators like Deloitte, Accenture, of that, they partner with startups to resell to their corporate clients because obviously no one's going to buy from a small startup. But if it comes through Deloitte, right? Is this something you have explored as well? The like selling through a big consultancy, for instance, given your past?
In the past we were trying, but as I said, no, for them we are a very small.
Still.
Yeah.
You're still.
Yeah, because their business is very different. They are not really interested to sell a startup service, although we are working with really big companies at this moment, top banks, top insurance companies. But I think that it's very difficult. They take us a lot of time. It depends as well. I will say that it depends your priorities and your focus as a company.
Yeah.
You cannot go to all the channels, no? And this is one of the mistakes that we did in the past. We're trying to sell through partners, direct sales, marketing, all the tiers that we have.
Yeah.
And this is an absolutely big mistake because are very different companies. If you want to go very small business, you have to build a different company than if you want to go to enterprise. So for us, for example, at this moment, the focus is working with partners that are more or less at our same stage or same size of the company, or this kind of software integrators, and rather than go to the big corporates that are taking a lot of time, that you can be dealing with them for 6, 7, 8 months. You can be connected, start working with them or getting in touch with them. But from our experience, we have been trying to a lot of time this process, and it's not working.
How many sales channels have you got? And are you focusing just on one?
In channels or tiers, you mean, in terms of
channels? Mostly like, there's
inbound, outbound.
Yeah.
Well, the traditional one, inbound, outbound, and now we are trying to build a partnership program to sell more through channels. Because we were doing this stuff more in a reactive way, let's say. So, okay, you have this opportunity. Someone called to our office, a partner, and say, I have this opportunity. Okay, let's go together, no?
Yeah.
But I think that we have to structure and do it better because it's a big opportunity if you can find the correct channel.
All right. How about one of the things that really troubles a lot of the companies doing B2B, especially in the beginning, is they're able to get that big name in the beginning with really shit conditions, right? That can kill your company. It's like, you can use my logo, we'll do this partnership, but it will be for free or for really cheap. Was that your case or not really? Like Prisa, when they came, like they were paying the full price, or you had to give them like a really big discount, be super on top of them? How was it for you to sell?
No, with Prisa, for example, we didn't give them this very, very big discount because it was through this partner, but we have done it in the past, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes this is a super strategic customer, so you have to do whatever it takes to bring them on board. For sure, I do not recommend to do it for free, because then they
don't value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is key, And sometimes if you do a really big discount, it could be not the best option to ensure that they're going to use your product. Because sometimes we have done some pilots to say, okay, let's do it for 1,000 euros. And this is a company that 1,000 euros is like, for us, €1 or even less. So for them, they're not going to put the effort or the resources to push your pilot. So you have to value your technology and try to make them feel that they are paying for something that is worth it.
So you don't see the value in pilots, or as long as they are like paid, well paid, they are good?
I will say that it's better try to push them to well-paid pilots.
Great. Okay, because this is also something we see, like a lot of people, if your sales cycle is very long, and we're going to go into that now, then you also spend time on doing the pilots, being hands-on with the client, the integration, whatever. You lose not only time, but you pay with the cost of the opportunity cost, right? And so how hands-on are you when you onboarded a client at the beginning? Not now. I assume now it's more.
Me?
Probably you. Yeah, the beginning.
Yeah. Well, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a weekly call, saying, okay, how it's going. I remember that I went to do a lot of webinars, explaining how it works, do you have to do that, the other thing. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is the way to do it. You must learn and to understand the needs of the customer, to understand what we have to develop in the future. You must be very close to the customer. And I think that it was something that we did really well at the very beginning, and now we are trying to keep it. But yeah.
How many people are you now, just to give a little bit of context?
Nowadays, I think we are 100.
I think.
100. I mean, 103 or 104 people.
All right. You heard somebody today.
Could be.
All right.
Mondays.
When somebody answers like, Thursday. I think, then you know the answer. It's too big, right? Let's talk about a little bit of product, because we don't have product people here very often, and there's not a lot of culture of product, right? Or in Barcelona, it's coming, thanks to international companies mostly. But yours is a special situation because you entered a pretty crowded market, right? There are two big dominant players, at least for third-party people like us. It's HelloSign, DocuSign. They're the big ones. One is IPOing, the other one was acquired by Dropbox, and then they've got these regional or country solutions. But it's a pretty crowded market, and it's very difficult to tell one company from the other. So how do you differentiate? You said here in Barcelona, it's mostly your EU compliant with everything you do, with a UX from, let's say, the US, right? But how does that translate to advantages for the customer? Like the UX is something like, I don't think that will sell a lot, right? Like being compliant, yeah, but the UX?
It depends the target market. It depends the customer, no? But yeah, it's not the most powerful. I would say that the legality is key, especially for the enterprise mid-market. This is something that they are evaluating a lot, and for us was like the real game changer when we had all the certification from the government and all this crazy stuff. And yeah, well, when we started, as I said, DocuSign, HelloSign, they were not in the European market. They were only approaching the States. So we saw the opportunity to say, well, okay, let's try to go faster. And regarding the other more local competitors, the main difference was that they were offering other kind of services. They were more focused on the what we call e-delivery, that is a certified email or certified SMS, trying to substitute the bureau of fax. And now they are trying to include in their services these kind of e-signatures, no? And on the other hand, other solutions that they were offering what is called the digital certificate, that is what we use to present the annual taxes, for example. So and there is where the user experience is important. Because
especially with La Renta.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jesus.
You know?
I was going to say, you mention often that your competitor is paper and pen, not other software, right? Because a lot of companies are still using, you got to sign contracts. I'm just going to use my pen. That's it. How do you convince somebody to move over to your solution in that case?
Yeah, well, so at the very beginning, as I said, it was the most difficult part, and it was all about trust. And then to show the benefits of using a solution like ours, no? We have some cases like MediaPro here that we did a success story with them, and the first year, not fully integrated in their service, they were saving more than 90,000 euros. Second year, more than 300,000 euros.
That's good.
And this is key to convince. When you go to talk with your customer with numbers, with real stuff, not bullshit, then it's easy to convince them.
Because they probably had like somebody in their legal department just signing contracts, and you managed to kind of like
they have people not only in the legal department, also in the everywhere around the company. And I have
there's
seen
paper and
I have seen companies that or HR director of super well-known companies that they were spending like 50% of their time only managing all this paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, like
so it's crazy, yeah.
I was gonna say some companies are still there. Like right now in my company, we're talking to big corporate in Spain. They're like, yeah, please send the documents, the NDA over like post-mail. I was like, sure. What year is this? Right? It's still going. That's not the case because obviously you can sign an NDA using Signaturit or some of your competitors. But what are the documents you cannot sign? Are you compliant with all of them? I'm pretty sure there must be like something you cannot do.
Yeah, if you have to go to the notary, you cannot use Signaturit. For other use cases, you can use Signaturit.
Okay, when will you disrupt notaries? Because they need a bit of a slap in the face.
We have a lot of work disrupting the private sector.
Yeah, that's true.
So the market opportunity is super big, and our idea is not to eliminate the notaries. Our idea is that we can collaborate with them. And we are already talking in conversation with some of them that at the end they are doing their job, but we can complement what they are doing. So imagine that you don't have to go to the notary. You can do it 100% online. There are a lot of things that we can do together. And this is what we are trying to change.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we set up the company, it was something like you go to this place and it reeks of old. There's this guy in a suit and he reads out loud the papers and he said, by the powers that being conferred, whatever, something that sounds like the Lord of the Rings, and then you get a sign there. And just because he's been a witness, that paper is legal, right? I'm pretty sure there could be a way to disrupt this process, right? How do you think this is gonna happen? Not at the beginning, you probably don't want to say, but how much time do we need
to change this process?
Yeah,
a lot of time. So imagine to complement what they are doing. I think that the matter is that sometimes they are not really open to collaborate. You know.
Yeah.
And to change this process, it could take 5, 10 years or even more.
In terms of okay, that's part of the sales, of course. But in terms of product, like when you get a computer, you said you've got a website that maybe you get inspiration from your competitors. But at the very end, if you look at the websites of yours and your competitors, they're very difficult to understand what they are the best at, right? Like, all right, I get it. It's digital signature. But if I don't know you, you don't have my trust yet. But I just go to your website. How do you make sure I buy your product? Like, what do you do there? Just not testimonials only. Is there some wording? It's like some onboarding process?
Onboarding process for sure. And the support that you are giving to the customers, especially with the technology that we are selling. And what we have seen and what makes us to won a lot of customers is the support and the connection that we have with all the customers that we are getting, or the leads. No, all this onboarding process I think is key. Trying to understand, okay, what they need to know now, what they are going to ask later, if they need to call, if they need to send us an email, we have to reply in less than 1 hour. I think that this is key to attract these customers and to differentiate our solution, our onboarding process from against other competitors that they don't have. Most of them, they don't have the. I mean, I'm talking about the European competitors.
Yeah,
right? You cannot pay online. You have to contact them. You have to and you can take like, I don't know, 1 week only to have all the information in place. What we are trying to do is, okay, I want this and I want this now. So you have all this information in place and trying to work really close with these customers.
And how about your distribution of time? Like usually in B2B, the CEO does the sales. And early in the stages of the company, 100% of your time is sales, and the other 100% is something else, right? But basically, you're just selling, going to events, doing workshops, and getting on calls, doing the live demos, things like that. How is it now? What percentage of your time is still sales when you've got 100 plus employees?
My mind is 100% on sales.
Great, that's good.
But no, I will say that I am trying to delegate all these areas to people that can do it better than I. And this is one very important point when you are growing super fast, no?
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to distribute my time, or where I'm trying to invest most of my time is in strategic thinking, I will say.
Great.
Trying to say, okay, what we are going to sell in 2 years, in 3 years, how can we go faster here? How can we organize this team? We have the correct structure. We have the best people in the best seat. We have where we need more support, and trying to be there supporting in the areas where we have more critical events.
But still, if like a super big customer comes your way, you will be there hands-on? Will you try to micromanage that? Or you completely rely on your sales team?
I rely on my sales team, I will say.
100%.
100%.
Okay.
This is
There was a little bit of hesitation. We can cut it off the video, but it was a little bit of...
absolutely, 100%.
Okay, 100%.
But the thing is that if you have this very, very big enterprise, they want to talk with the CEO.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and this is that's why I was thinking.
Absolutely.
That's why.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. But they want to talk with the CEO. Last week, for example, I was in Madrid, and it was a meeting just to go
talk
there.
to the CEO.
Yeah. Just to go there and say, okay, yes, we are a big company, don't worry, we're going to be here in the next 10 years, and you can trust on us, we want to work with you. So more, I don't know, like an ambassador.
Yeah, How do you overcome this? I think like you got this question on the Eatnik podcast like some weeks ago. It's like some companies in B2B, obviously they're bigger than you, right? Your customer is 10 times bigger than you, maybe 1,000 times bigger. They're like, how do I know you're not gonna go out of business, right? How do you ensure them? How do you convince them that you're not gonna go out of business? Sometimes it happens that they go out of business before you and they're like in your face, but how do you do it? How do you convince them? What's your words?
Well, nowadays we don't have this problem because, we have a lot of funding, a lot of customers, more than 2,000 customers, so it's easy.
Yeah.
But at the very beginning, I remember that we had to do
It's promises, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I hate this question. I remember when the customers come to me and say, okay, maybe you are not going to be here in 1 year, and my feeling was, okay, maybe you are not going to be here as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what we did, I remember that we went to the notary to do a scroll.
Yeah.
Do you know what is an scroll? Do you have to put all your code there and certify that if we disappear, they're going to be able to access to the code?
Yeah.
So some crazy stuff just to bring them the confidence that, okay, if we disappear, you will be able to keep using our solution. But at the end of the day, I think, what's the sense of this kind of scroll? Because are you going to develop or keep working on the code?
Yeah.
So it's like, but
some people want to have it, right?
And you know why? Because at the end of the day, this guy is working for another guy, or for the CEO, and is taking the decision. The responsibility.
It's his.
Exactly.
Nobody gets fired for hiring IBM, but if you go for a smaller company and you fuck up,
absolutely,
then you're fired.
That's why.
Right? Yeah, that's one thing. Like in our case, like for instance, I had this question 3 times. 2 companies went out of business. And the third one is there, you know. so you know, it's probably it's some kind of indicator of that company is not going to be your client for very long. So probably you just might not want to have that.
Yeah.
Right. And how about in terms of innovation? No, so let's talk about the structure of your team, because at a certain point you need to scale yourself. You kind of talk to all the customers, and you're doing the sales. How do you find these B2B people, like probably VP sales, or like you've got a team of sales? How did you structure that? How it came to be?
Well, we are using the typical structure of a B2B sales team. We split and try to specialize all the profiles. We have the hunters, let's say, that is the outbound people, SDRs, inside sales. Then we have the account executives that are the closers. And then we have our customer success team that, they are doing all the upsell, renewals, and try to keep our customers happy. And then first of all, we have a market research team. What they are doing is trying to find all the leads, trying to find the companies that fit our criteria, ICP. Then we pass these leads to the SDR team, and they are doing all the outbound, trying to contact them, trying to convince them to close a demo with our account executive.
Because as opposed to, I was asking this because there are 2 kinds of companies in B2B, right? The bootstrap ones, which rely mostly on inbound, and they probably have got a good content strategy. They've got like great blogs, and they do events and things like that. But they're bootstrap. They don't have an urgency to sell. And companies that are funded, therefore you gotta sell. You gotta have a team of people reaching out, reaching to customers, talking to as many people, because you know if out of 100 people you talk, you're gonna close 3 or 10 or 13, whatever, right? Is that your case as well? Did you find out from the very beginning that you needed both inbound and outbound, or you experimented?
We experimented. We started with inbound, for sure,
Only
since
inbound.
the very beginning, and then we started to try to build our outbound team. I will say that the most difficult...
When did you build it? Like at what point?
We were trying to do it since not since the very beginning, since 2016, more or less, when we closed our first funding round. Then we can
It's almost 3 years later.
3 years ago, something more or less.
Yeah.
And we are still trying to build this team. I mean,
right.
It's not easy. It's the most difficult part of a B2B SaaS sales system.
Because a lot of people say they can do sales, but they cannot do sales. Like they could do sales in big corporates because they think that they've been selling in like fucking HP or something like that. They can sell yours, right? Like it's easy to sell HP, but it's probably not easy to sell a small startup service, right? Have you found that transition is hard for some people, or you hired from similar companies?
Yeah. Well, we started closing all the different sizes of the company, of companies. For enterprises, the problem is not, it's difficult because it takes a lot of time. Yeah. And the problem is that you need different profiles. It's very different the profile that you need to talk with HP or than to talk with a startup. I would say that for a startup, you must close this deal 100% inbound. If not, the CAC, it's not going to work. But then what is very, very difficult as well is for the mid-market, because they are trying to look for every penny that they are spending, and sometimes it's very difficult to convince them to change. They don't have all the resources that the big corporates have. So, yeah.
I mean, in B2B, they say that you don't need to be chasing rabbits, but you cannot go hunt elephants. You got to go for the deer, right? Because they're good size and they cannot kill you. But like with the rabbit, maybe it's like a small deal. You chase it, you get tired, and you eat only for a day, right? So in your case, what's the distribution like in your client base?
In terms of
size of companies.
in terms of customers, 80% of our customer base is very small and mid-market.
Great. So you get them through inbound.
Yeah, most of them are inbound,
Great.
but 70%, 80% inbound.
Yeah.
And then in terms of revenues, 80% from the other 20%.
All right.
From enterprises. So
it pays off to chase the enterprises because at the very end they pay for the party, right?
Yeah.
And what are the strategies to kind of like get easy clients in the beginning inbound? You spent almost 3 years doing inbound only. What would you recommend to people starting up a B2B company? Blog, events like live workshops and things like that?
Yeah, well, events was good for us in terms of brand, trust, again, no? So I remember that we went to, I don't know, every year, I don't remember how many events I went, but it was absolutely crazy. I met people that say, okay, I saw you in this event.
In Barcelona or something like that.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even remember, but yeah, probably yes. All right.
Events and, content. Since the very beginning, we were working on our content strategy because it takes a lot of time and it was super useful, especially for our solution, because it's very different than a standard SaaS. There are very specific topics, legality, security, well, you know. And yeah, I would say that content events was working quite well.
And how about, because I heard like you've got a lot of developers. How many have you got and what for?
Yeah, I think that we have a lot. Yeah.
You've got a lot. You're overstaffed in developers. Is that the overhiring
Maybe
part?
our CTO is not
gonna. Yeah, CTO is
you know?
never gonna say.
No, we have nowadays. We have like, including product, like 40 people.
40 people.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand. They're like, why do fucking Glovo need 80 developers, 120 developers? It's just a delivery app. Yeah, but you probably can tell this better, right? Is integrations, or then you've got pilots, byproducts.
New products, improvements, integrations. There is a lot of stuff, and then you want to go super fast.
Yeah.
It means that you need more people to do these developments.
You've got like three. If I remember correctly, you've got like 3 levels of Signaturit, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
How about other byproducts that you have probably come up with? Something that initially was not the idea, but you developed this for a client or something like that. Have you got something like that? Have you developed other tools that you're also commercializing?
Yeah. We developed 2 new products that is called e-delivery, that you can certify any communication, email, SMS, for example.
Yeah.
And it's like if you don't want to use a burofax, you can use our service, and it has the same legal validity. And another one that we call identification part or ID. That is like where you can take 2 pictures of your ID, and then we can extract all this information and certify that the document was not manipulated.
All right, how did you come up with them, and how are part of your strategy? Are they like the small child that you don't take care of, or they are bringing big revenue?
No, they're not really big revenue.
But significant.
But significant, and most than the revenue is that the solution that we are providing to the customer. Because, for example, what we are doing with the identification part is like, okay, we can provide you, for the big companies, a digital enrollment platform. So you can capture all this information with your mobile phone. We can extract this information, stamp in the contract, fill in all of the information, and then you can sign it.
Yeah.
So you can automatize all this process. You don't have to fill in all this information in a web form or whatever.
All right. Before we open up the floor for questions, I want to have like 2 quick questions here. It's like, what's the most expensive fuck up you've ever done? That always brings amazing answers.
Okay. I don't have to explain it in detail, no?
Maybe you can skip the name of the customer.
Okay.
But,
Well, no, I will say that the most
expensive in terms of money.
I gave shares of the company at the very beginning of and it was the biggest mistake.
Right.
People that maybe not people or other shareholders. So I think that it was my...
That's one thing you definitely would have done different right now, right?
Absolutely.
No, yeah. What's the thing that we can do from Startup Grind to help you as a entrepreneur or Signaturit as a company? What can we do with all these amazing people we've got here?
Yeah, I would say that the most important is that you can bring us some leads, so people that can use our service. Yeah, for sure.
Looking for clients. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I always be selling. No? So.
Funnily enough, they're not hiring developers. The first company in 5 years is not hiring developers.
We are, exactly. And we are not hiring, but we are always,
always open.
Open to talk and love to meet new people. So,
what can we do better in the startup grind? In the startup scene in Barcelona, in the ecosystem? What can we improve?
Yeah. I would say that from my experience, I remember when we founded Signaturit, the first year we went to Amsterdam because we were selected to participate in the startup bootcamp. And when I came back, what I saw is that the environment it's very different in terms of collaboration. I remember there that everybody was trying to share their knowledge, trying to do a lot of meetups, trying to collaborate each other. And sometimes here I have the feeling that people is more, let's say, close to share some points, or I don't know why, no? But I think that I would love to have more collaboration between the different companies.
All right. Yeah, that's one thing that definitely has been improving over the years, but still, we still have got that mentality of like, yeah, you're my competitor, I'm not going to associate to you.
And so that you are not my competitor, you are selling oranges and I'm selling apples, you know?
Exactly.
But
how are you as a manager? Like, how do you distribute your day and how would you describe yourself?
Crazy.
Perfect.
No.
Next question. No.
Thanks God I have Paula that is helping me to work on that because I am absolutely disaster.
All right.
But as I said before, no, I'm trying to save some time every day to, I don't know, maybe 1 hour or something like this to think in the strategy of the company. Then Mondays, Tuesday, I block these days for one-on-ones, leadership meetings.
Great.
And the rest of the days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's free, holidays.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
No, it's
busy CEO,
more. It's time to visit customers, talk with customers, or do more if I have to travel.
And one of the last two questions is like, in B2B sales, there's not a lot of literature, but there are really good books. Have you read any, and would you recommend any book of B2B sales?
Yeah.
Which one would it be?
Predictable revenue.
Okay, predictable revenue. Do you know the
Aaron Ross.
Okay,
yeah.
Aaron Ross. That's a good one. Because we don't ask a lot about Aaron Ross, predictable revenue.
Yeah.
Because we don't ask a lot about books, but some of the times, like we've done that, and I've read the actual books, and I was like, oh wow, this book's really good.
This one, you must read this book, if you want to sell B2B.
If I can recommend one, there's Never Split the Difference, which was recommended by Stella from our team. It was really good. It's really good. That's amazing. If you haven't read it, just,
no.
It's from this international expert in like negotiation with terrorists.
Okay.
He was this expert from the CIA, something like that, and then he moved into coaching sales, right? And the book is incredible. It's like, you should never split the difference. Like, never give a discount up front, things like that. You should always aim to get 100% of what you want.
Okay.
At the expense of what the other people want. Like, you can do it. There are ways to do it. And that book was one of the. It's not the typical, sales book that was really fun to read.
Yeah.
And the last one. Everybody has got a useless superpower. Something you do exceptionally well, but it's fucking useless. Like, what do I know this for? I don't know, but like, you do it every day. What's yours? That's a tricky question, isn't it? Yeah.
You must told me before.
No, we don't prepare. That's the thing. We don't prepare. I'll give you 2 examples.
Okay.
Like, people who, like, for instance, like, I always explain the same. But I'll change mine, for instance. Like, I know the lyrics to songs I don't like, but I don't know the lyrics to the songs I like. Why? Like, songs from, like, freaking Britney Spears or, like, things like that, Backstreet Boys, I've got them in my head. But my favorite bands, I don't know the lyrics, no matter how many times I listen to them. Or, you walk away from your car, you've locked it, obviously, but you're like, have I locked my car? You go back and obviously it was locked. Things like this. What's your useless superpower?
Freak things or superpower?
Yeah, it has to define you. It can be as weird as you want.
I have to eat always the same for breakfast.
Oh, right, that's a good one. What is it? Can you share?
Fruit, and the same fruit.
Always the same.
Orange juice
Oranges?
and coffee.
Oranges and coffee. That's your breakfast.
And if I'm, I don't know, in Berlin, I have to go to the supermarket the day before just to buy the fruit and try to find the same fruit.
That's a pretty good one. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up.
I'm sorry,
Very strong
this is
applause. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Before the question, I want to give one special shout out. There's one person here who made the first event possible. Mar, if you want to stand up and say hello to the people.
Wow.
She hosted us at Ethnic in 2014, March, April, May. The first events. Without her, we wouldn't be here probably. So thank you very much, Mar.